So today I want to run through a few quick tricks I've learnt with managing Illuvium Zero Land. These are more advanced tips that you might not have heard before. We're going to skip all the basic stuff. There's plenty of guides out on that. So today we're going to cover some things that you might not understand if you're new, but if you have been playing Illuvium Zero, these are very helpful. If you want a guide on how the basic converters and all that stuff and storage and fuel and all that works, probably not the right guide. This is for people who have been playing a little while and want to really make their land as efficient as possible. So the first thing I want to talk about is converters. There's a few tricks to converters that you might not initially realize when you first dive in. Most people like to stuff as many of them around the map or around the plot as they can. And usually the easiest way to get as many converters on a plot as you can is to start from the edges and work your way in and space them out exactly so they don't interfere with each other. Now the issue with that is you end up with converters that don't have an extractor nearby. You might not have enough space to get them up to 150% efficiency. If you look at this one, it's only at 145. And this one is at 142 because I've built them on the edge, so I can't physically get enough power around them. Partially because there's other buildings in the way, but I can't quite get enough power around them to max out the efficiency. But by building them a little closer to the center of the map, so just one or two hexes across, you can fit more power around them and get them up to 150. So that's important to know as well. The next thing I see a lot of people messing up with their converters is over leveling them too early. Converters are quite expensive to upgrade. So once you hit Nexus level 9, you can put more time into powering or leveling up your converters. But before, say, Nexus level 6 or 7, you don't really want to take your converters past level 3, and only taking them up to level 3, maybe 4, if you've really got excess resources to spend on them. So, and long term, once you max out your plot, you can start leveling up more of your converters, but you don't really need to take them to level 6 unless you really have excess resources. So currently a level 6 converter, if you look at it, passive generation is 24 krypton. So that's on a tier 3 plot. Now if you go to a level 5 converter, have a look at info, it's exactly the same. So going from level 5 to level 6 doesn't get you any extra passive generation. It allows you to convert more fuel when you're running the converter, but you don't necessarily need that extra conversion. I mean, you're paying one thing and getting another. So unless you really need the resource, you might have 1 or 2 converters maxed out, but the rest, for maximum passive generation, you keep them at level 5. That might change in the future, but that's how it is right now. So last point on converters, when you click on one, the little collection button appears down the bottom here, and there's a little yellow ring that works its way around the button. You want to keep an eye on this ring. Reason being, it takes several days to passively generate any of the fuels usually, so this bar will reset whenever you collect resources. So click the button. You can't click it when there's 0, so don't worry about it right now. But it also resets if you upgrade the building. So you want to keep an eye on that. You don't want to start upgrading a building if it's already partially finished its ring, because you've probably waited a couple of days and you're about to get some resources. So wait until you collect the resources, then do the upgrade. So yeah, converters are quite expensive to upgrade. So just going from, let's have a look here. We've got a level 4 here. So a level 4 converter upgrading to level 5 costs 50 krypton. Well, krypton for this particular type of converter. If you spend all that krypton early on to go to level 5, well, you're not going to be able to level something else up. So yeah, it pays to keep your converters between level 3 and level 4 early on, and maybe maxing them out at level 5 later on in the game. So the next thing you want to know about is the Nexus. Probably one of the longest building queues you'll do is upgrading the Nexus from level 8 to level 9, and that's going to tie up a builder for 5 whole days. And basically during that time you're not going to be spending any of your resources with at least one builder because it's tied up for 5 days. So you're probably going to have an excess of resources. As you can see, this Nexus is 8 and it's about to go to 9, only a couple of hours left. You can see I've maxed out my resources, and I'm about to have a builder free and a whole bunch of new buildings I can upgrade, but I haven't worked on my capacity. I should have upgraded my building capacity before finishing the Nexus 9, because you're going to want to upgrade your engineering workshop and your quantum fabricant straight away as soon as possible, so you can upgrade to your extractors to level 6. But if you have a look here, 5.2 million with this resource, silicon, and now I'm going to have to go and level up my storage facilities before I can upgrade any of those buildings, even though I've got maxed resources. So I've basically just wasted a whole bunch of time. While the Nexus is upgrading, you want to work on your storage so that you can keep upgrading the rest of your buildings as soon as possible. Next, we'll quickly go over some Singularity scanner tips and materials lab tips. So the Singularity scanner, which is the most difficult to manage, can't have any other buildings around it. Everyone probably already knows that, so you've got to keep it by itself. Now, when you're scanning, depending on the level of your Singularity scanner, it has a higher resource cost. So this is a level 2 scanner, so it costs 9 of each resource. A level 1 scanner would only cost 1 of each resource. I'm assuming the level 3 scanner goes up to 12. I'm pretty sure it does. So it's very difficult to fit more than one on your plot. You might get 2 or 3 on a really lucky layout, but it might be more inefficient in other places. But usually I only put 1 scanner on each plot. You can usually find a spot and get 100% efficiency. That's fine. But it can get quite expensive scanning, especially once you level your scanner up to level 3 or higher. So sometimes it pays to have several scanners, but you only have 1 scanner in the efficient spot. And every day when you do your scan, say if you want a level 4 alluvial, you make sure you use a level 4 or a level 5 scanner. That will scan. It'll cost you a lot more, but you've got a chance of finding the level 4 or 5 alluvial. If you're only looking for a level 1 or a level 2 alluvial, you may as well use a entry-level scanner. It'll cost you a lot less resources to scan. They both take the same time to scan, but cost you much less. So that's important to know. And when you're done with the scanner, you just swap their position. You can move them quite easily. I don't have 2 scanners set up on this map yet, but I can place it here, leave it there until I need it, and put the other scanner in position, do my scan. Next day, okay, I want to scan for a different alluvial, I'll move the other scanner back. That's a nifty little trick that'll save you a lot of resources in the long run, because you're probably going to be scanning every day. Now, if that's too much effort, you can just run the 1 scanner, max out the level, and pay the maximum scanning cost every day. It's probably not a big loss, but when it comes to materials labs, it definitely pays to have multiple of those at different levels. For example, you log on, you check in here, and you can see I've got all these different biodatas I can scan. Say I decide I want a monkia, or a lesser gorilla, sorry. This is going to cost me, with a tier 1 scanner, 6 of each resource to scan it for a 5% success rate. So if I'm looking for lesser gorilla armor, I'm going to use the level 1 scanner. But that scanner won't work if I want to research a tier 2 or 3 alluvial. So I'm going to use a tier 2 scanner on the tier 2 alluvial, I won't use a tier 3 scanner on a tier 2 alluvial because I'm going to be paying extra fuel in order to do it. So it probably pays to have one of each level scanner so that you can just constantly pick and choose which blueprints you're hunting for. Okay, last tip for the day. As your plots approach being fully developed and they're sort of maxed out on a lot of their resources, you'll probably find you have an excess of your basic fuels, so carbon, silicon and hydrogen. So it's quite okay if you've got a really busy map. If you see on this particular plot, in the corner here, I've got quite a lot of free space, but I've got an extractor here. But I've got an excess of carbon. I've got 3 carbon converters down here, another one over here. Do I really need 5 carbon converters? Probably not. So as this plot's more developed, if I want to put a scanner on this map, it's very hard to find a spot that's going to give it 100% efficiency. I can actually delete this plot or sell it and just have nothing there. You can't build on the empty resource, but it won't interrupt a scanner or a podarium if you want to build one there. So yeah, if you've got an excess of resources, think about which ones you can get rid of and just have an empty resource underneath, and you might be able to fit another scanner in that spot instead. If you've got any of your own tips, I'd love to hear about them. Drop them in the comments down the bottom. And do me a huge favour, hit the like and subscribe button. I'm trying to join the Illuvium content creator program, and any help would be appreciated.